And this is not just about the storms. This is in any given moment. We're in such a 24/7, fast-paced world, multitasking all the time. Just to take a moment to say, oh, where are my feet in this moment? What parts of my body are touching the chair that I'm sitting in? Grounding into our body, noticing where the feet are and imagining that as our feet press down on the ground, that Mother Earth is rising up to greet us, to hold us, to protect us. And can we be embraced by that? Grounding in the breath and body allows us to be in this moment. We are here now. We are not anywhere else. And that is the essence of being mindful.
There are opportunities for our work and careers everywhere, if you know where to look. That's easier said than done, especially in our fast-paced and constantly changing world. Marianne Fairmouth is talking to experts, employers, and job seekers to bring you insight and understanding about what's possible. This is Career Can Do, where we're navigating the new work world.
Welcome to the Career Can Do podcast, a top global podcast dedicated to helping you navigate the new work world and beyond. My name is Marianne Fairmouth. I'll be your host for this episode. And today I am just delighted to have a guest on my show doing so many innovative things and helpful things for these times. Dr. Benizeh Mirza Gruber is an MD and the CEO and founder of Mindful in Practice, a psychiatric private practice based in Houston, Texas. She's also licensed board certified psychiatrist with the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology. I want to have her on the show today because she's doing so many wonderful things in regards to mindfulness. She's a certified mindfulness meditation teacher. She has the certification of completion as a mindfulness mentor, certified yoga teacher, and certified mind-body medicine skills facilitator. And these days in our world, and especially these days in my home city of Houston, we've had some interesting things happen in regards to weather. And we've also heard that this season is supposed to be one of the most challenging hurricane seasons that we have. So I think, being the holistic person that I am, mindfulness practices are even more important. And the more we know about them and what to do and how to do them, I think we're all going to be in a better place. So after that incredibly long introduction, without further ado, help me welcome Dr. Benizeh Mirza Gruber. Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. And thank you, Marianne. This is a privilege and an honor to be in the same space with you. So thank you for the invitation.
You know what? The pleasure's all mine, and I feel the same way about you. And, you've done so many great things. And, mindfulness, I talk a lot about it in my practice as well. But can you share what you mean by mindfulness and how does being mindful in challenging times help us deal with stress?
Wonderful question. So my way of defining mindfulness, which is different for many other people, is paying attention to what is arising in the present moment, like here we are right now. So paying attention to what is coming up for you, for me, both within us and around us, bringing our full awareness to it without any judgment. And how does it help us deal with stress? So when we are feeling stressed, we generally are not here now. In the past, about things happening, for instance, the storms that just happened, we're worrying about the future. Oh my gosh, when is the next storm coming? But mindfulness allows you to come back to the here and now, to this moment, because the only moment that exists is this moment. When we are being mindful, we are connecting with our breath, with our body, and to the sounds and the sensations that are around us. We bring a mindful, loving presence to what is happening. We notice it, we observe it, we acknowledge it without any judgment, and we say yes to it. Even if it is unpleasant, we say yes to it. So when we are under stress or experiencing stress and worried about tomorrow's storm that they're predicting, we can acknowledge that. Yes, I am worried. What is my experience with that right now? Oh, I'm noticing my heart is beating. Oh, I'm noticing I'm thinking about what I should be doing. My thoughts are going in many, many different places. And we are experiencing what is considered the fight, flight, freeze response. What mindfulness does, by bringing a mindful, loving presence to what is happening and to our breath and to our body in this moment, we allow ourselves to shift from that fight, flight, freeze with our breath, with our body, to our relaxation mode. So coming into our breath by taking a slow, deep in breath, a long, deep out breath, bringing awareness to this breath, bringing awareness to our body. Where is our body here? Where are our feet here? We are here and now. Our body and breath cannot be anywhere else but here. And if we do that, we can shift from the past and future to here now.
I think you're so right. You know, it reminds me, Doctor, of what my sweet father used to say. My father was probably the smartest man I know. He was from Malta. He came here when he was 12. And he used to tell me when I was a little girl, when I'd say, "Oh, I'm so sick, I have a sore throat." He said, "If you keep telling yourself you're sick, you're going to continue to be sick." That was about mindfulness. Okay. The mind has a real effect, I think, even on our bodies and our physical health. And I know you're a medical doctor, but getting back to this rough hurricane season they're predicting, if somebody does have more of a mindfulness practice, is that going to help us all go through this a little bit easier? Or, I mean, I don't want to say we don't have to take precautions and make sure, like for me, you know, I had a situation recently where big trees fell and broke my fences. So I have to get more trees cut, right? So there's other things we have to do besides just breathe, okay? But no, I think what you're saying, it helps us to de-stress. And even, you know, more importantly too, I think helps our body, our physical body, not go into this panic state where it affects us and gets us all hyper, and also allows us to go into the workplace and be more productive. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. What usually happens is, we are thinking all the time. And most of the thoughts that we are having are reruns. There's nothing wrong with having these thoughts. That's what the mind is doing. It's just secreting thoughts. It's what it's supposed to be doing. It's what we attach to our thoughts, right? The stories we tell ourselves, the narrative we bring to it. And our thoughts are just thoughts, but they become reality when we attach things to them. If you imagine that thoughts are just like clouds in the sky and we can look at them, worrying, judging, planning, that's the thought, and we can gently let it float by. It would be easier, but we don't do that. We attach to the thoughts. And we cause ourselves to worry even more about what can happen. Yes, when we are feeling in that mode of, oh my gosh, it may feel counterintuitive to take a breath. However, that is the one thing we can do to help us settle. We are breathing all the time, but we don't bring an awareness to our breath, which is known as a conscious breath. So maybe you want to do this with me now. Eyes open or closed. You're seated, I'm seated. If you just take a slow, deep in-breath in through your nose and a slow, deep, full out-breath out through your nose or mouth, allowing this out-breath to be longer than your in-breath. And noticing your breath, noticing the sensation of your breath as you breathe in, the rise and fall of your chest and belly as you breathe in, the rise and fall of your chest and belly as you breathe out, noticing the warmth of your breath, maybe bringing both hands to the heart or both hands to the belly, a slow, deep in breath, and a long, deep, full out breath. If you do this for a few cycles of breath, you will notice that you are slowing down. There is an awareness, and physiologically, what we're doing is we are shifting into the relaxation mode with a conscious breath. That is our neurophysiology. We are activating the vagus nerve. We are connecting to parts of the brain that are shifting us from the fear response to higher centers of the brain that connect us with, oh, yes, we can make decisions. We can make choices, like the executive part of our brain, and allows us to connect with ourselves, with other people. We bring what is called an embodied awareness to our breath and our body. And this is an easy way to allow ourselves just a few moments of settling so that we can move forward. There are many, many different ways. Another way that someone could, if they're feeling, and this is not just about the storms, this is in any given moment. We're in such a 24/7, fast-paced world, multitasking all the time. Just to take a moment to say, oh, where are my feet in this moment? What parts of my body are touching the chair that I'm sitting in? Grounding into our body, noticing where the feet are, and imagining that as our feet press down on the ground, that Mother Earth is rising up to greet us, to hold us, to protect us. And can we be embraced by that? Grounding in the breath and body allows us to be in this moment. We are here now. We are not anywhere else. And that is the essence of being mindful, to remember that when we are distracted, when our thoughts take us somewhere else, when our feelings take us somewhere else, mindfulness reminds us, hey, come on back to the breath, allowing it to be the anchor.
Mhm.
Um,
I think that's wonderful. And Manize, that reminds me of something I saw on social media by Thoughts Wonder, and it says, when it rains, look for rainbows. When it's dark, look for stars. And that reminds me of something you and I talked about in the Blue Room when in 2017, when we had the major flood during Hurricane Harvey. You mentioned your home and neighborhood flooded, but this also was a trigger for you to get into some other things. Can you tell us about that and how sometimes it's the darkest right before the dawn?
Absolutely, it is, right? It's usually what the dark night of the soul that allows you to see that there is light in front of you. Hurricane Harvey, to me, it was the most challenging period of our lives for many, many years. And yet, it has been the most beautiful gift I was given. As the poet Rumi says, be grateful for whoever comes, for each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Oh, I love that.
This was my guide. This just changed my world. I was already a mindfulness practitioner. I had a practice of meditation. I was already yoga certified. I had my holistic integrative psychiatric practice, but it opened the door to the certification in mind body medicine. It opened the door to becoming a mindfulness meditation teacher, which then has allowed me to become a mentor. It has opened the door to serving in a way I had never imagined. It has changed my life. I'm not saying that it wasn't difficult, it wasn't challenging, but because of this negativity bias that we have, and you mentioned about, the rainbows, we look at the rain and not at the rainbow. This allowed me to see that beyond all of this, there is something there that is calling. I am a very spiritual person, and I truly believe in that inner guide. And it has charted a new course for me in my life. And it has allowed me to help so many people in the simplest of ways, from teenagers to the homeless. And I am just so forever grateful for these opportunities. These are true gifts that in the moment it feels, why is this happening to me? And I remind myself every time Why is this not?
No, I think that's so profound. And I think this makes me think about, we talked about this in the Blue Room too, are the lessons we all learn from the challenges we go through. All right. So instead of looking at this, oh my God, oh, this is horrible thing that happened to me, what is the lesson we're learning from it? All right. Now, all this rain is getting to be a bit much here in the Houston area. Okay. And we're all pretty tired of it. But, it opened my eyes to some things to write about. I had a funny thing that I made an analogy with, Benize, when we had this horrible storm, we had a tornado touch down a few blocks
Mhm.
from my house. My fence came down, and I have two big, beautiful dogs. I'm a big dog person. And my two big dogs, ran out to the neighbor's yard, went out to the big main street. And it's made me laugh because it made me remember or think about the great resignation. We've got some old fences in the
Mhm.
work world. They need to be torn down, they need to be rebuilt because
Yeah.
people are going to leave if something isn't working or it's not providing the support. And sometimes it takes something like horrible, like a tornado. And then I think also about the analogy of the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy, because of the three people she met and that's the thing that happened to her. She became a new person. She became
Mhm.
a better version of who she was before the tornado. So what I'm hearing you say, there are definitely coping practices we can all utilize. And I'm so glad you're on the show today because I, number one, need to breathe because I'm always doing this and that and the other. And I think these practices will help me relax a little bit and even be more productive. But also, I think that a lot of us get so caught up in what we're doing. And the better we can become as who we are, the more we can contribute, the more we can give to others. And I think for me anyway, it's not about so much how much I accomplish, but what have I learned, the lessons I've learned where I
Mhm.
can make a contribution. I think that's what I'm hearing you say, or some of it anyway. So, you've had so many different life experiences too, and they've shaped you. But we talked about Harvey, and I'm sure you've had other things, but I'm sure with, you're very accomplished and you do so many things. When you yourself have stress, do you use these practices or what do you do?
Every day, 24/7. Every day. So my usual ways, I wake up, it begins with when I wake up in the morning before I even get out of bed. I begin and end my day with my hands on my heart. I say a prayer and I say repeat phrases of what is called loving kindness, that for myself and to all beings everywhere. My phrases are, may I be safe and strong. May I be happy and healthy. May I find peace and be protected. May I find ease in my own loving presence and I accept myself today for the way I am. And I extend that. I would extend it to you, to my family, to my friends, to my mentors, to my teachers, to our mailman, to everyone. That's how my day begins. Then I have a practice of meditation, yoga, and running and walking. I'm a marathoner. I'm not in training right now, but that is some of my daily practices. I like to sing. I chant. I love to write. And so I write every day. I have a gratitude practice. And it's been shown that having a daily practice of gratitude really reduces the symptoms of depression and anxiety. So I have a daily gratitude practice. Even in this moment, I can say to you a deep bow of gratitude, Marianne, for your invitation. A deep bow of gratitude to Catherine for finding me. I do this every day. And then when I get caught in my thoughts, which I do, absolutely, it's a given, it's going to happen. I absolutely know that. I notice them. So putting them under the carpet is not going to help because they're just going to grow into a monster. I notice them. I make space for them. I say yes to them without in that moment needing to fix, judge, control, or change it in any way, but to hold it as if I was holding a puppy. Yes, worry. Yes, feel. And then I gently release it as if I had the string of a balloon and I open my hand and I let the balloon fly away. And I say, that's my thought going in the sky, or it's the cloud in the sky passing by. I love being in nature. So when I'm outside, and this is when It's so important because we notice only the things that are going wrong. And if we take time to notice the things that are going well, not super well, just well. I notice the jasmine blooming and the smell of the roses and the trees. I'm with the birds that are singing. And I bring my attention to that. I take a snapshot image of something that really talks to me. When I am feeling that stress and that angst, I bring that image back. I bring back images of places, of people, of instances when I have felt safe, when I felt strong, when I felt brave. And I bring them back, especially when I'm not feeling all of those things. I remind myself every day I am enough. I've made mistakes, but I am enough today. And I use all of this as a guidepost to lead me on my path and onto my next step, onto my journey.
Oh, I think this is beautiful. And I think it's so profound. And I think with all of the people listening, Monize, right now that are anxious about what might come with this hurricane season, or not just hurricanes, the hurricanes of life in a metaphorical sense, okay? I think the practices, the different things you're telling us about, I think are so helpful and so useful, and people will for sure benefit from them. One of the things you and I talked about also, both being writers, was that you have a newsletter. I think you told me it comes out a couple times a month. If our listeners want to find that newsletter, how do they do that?
Oh, thank you, Marianne. So, yes, I write a newsletter which is released on the 1st and 15th of every month. So, it'll be out tomorrow. I usually have a theme for the month. And if any of the listeners go to my website, which is www.mindfulinpractice.com, they can subscribe to the newsletter and they are on the email list. It's free. There's no spam. I write about personal reflections, mindfulness tips, workshops and groups that are coming up. In fact, there's a once a month group beginning starting June 17th called My Not So Mindful Menopause. It's a once a month drop in group. And also, my newsletter has a Zoom link to a free guided meditation that I lead every Monday called Mindful Mondays, and it's from 12 to 12:30 Central Time. No registration, no RSVP, no prior experience. Just come in as you are and be present in the space with me.
Oh, how wonderful, how wonderful. Well, I certainly want to take you up on that, and I certainly will subscribe to it. And all of this information will be on my website also, fairmouth.com. But we're getting near the end here, Monize, and I've learned so much from this podcast, and I know my listeners will as well. But I always like to leave the listeners with two salient points that will really help them in these times. And yes, we're specifically today talking about the storms and tornadoes and hurricanes and all that, but in a metaphorical way, post COVID, we've all been through those times. And there's so much change right now in the new work world, as I call it. If you had to leave our listeners again with two salient points to help them become their best self, what would those 2 points be?
First, I would say, wherever you are, whoever you are, I am holding you in my heart space and saying to you, be kind and compassionate towards yourself first, so that you can be kind and compassionate towards the people around you, loving yourself and knowing that you cannot fill from an empty cup, you cannot fill from an empty well. Take care of yourself, be kind. And the second thing I would say is you cannot control external circumstances and events. The idea of controlling it leads to more distress. But what you can control is your internal inner world. You can control your response, your attitude to things. You can choose. The one thing that you get to do, that is your way to freedom, is you get to choose how you want to respond to these challenges, what you want to bring to them. And perhaps you might find that rainbow in the challenge. And I will end with one quote from Hafiz the poet. I wish I could show you, when you are lonely and in the darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. See within yourself. That light is there. It is always there. Give yourself permission to let it shine bright.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's so profound. Well, Minnie, I feel so honored and so thrilled and so grateful that I had you on the show. I know you and I will stay in touch, and I think we have so many things in common, but I think overall we're both professionals and practitioners that are trying to help others become their best self. And, my practice has expanded from just being a career consultant to also helping others become their best self in their personal lives as well as professional lives. So it's been my pleasure to have a person of your caliber on Career Can Do. So all of this will be on my website. Do download us. We're on every major podcast channel. We also come out on the 1st and the 15th of every month. Minnie, thank you so much. And see y'all next time. Bye-bye. We thank you for tuning in to our Career Can Do podcast. We make no guarantees on results for your particular quest, but we hope you enjoy the information presented. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely that of the guest or speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Marianne Fairmouth and Fairmouth and Company. Thank you.